Hey guys, welcome to Coffee and Commercial. I'm Jesse Hernandez, and this is Edwin Acevedo, our national president for NAHREP. And today we're going to have an amazing podcast for you where we're going to talk about not only sustainable home ownership, financial literacy, but generational wealth, and why we as real estate professionals should step into leadership roles like this gentleman right here next to me. So I can't wait to get this started. Welcome again, my friend.
Thank you, Jesse.
For being
Appreciate
here
it.
today. When you first started, you took over a chapter that was hurting a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
Back in that, that chapter, this is back in 2017. I was president-elect 2017. And the chapter was hurting. Now, not because it was done by the wrong people. I think it just, the timing wasn't right as far as what was going on during that time. But yeah, we were averaging 15 people per event.
Wow.
In 2017, when I first attended an NAHREP event in 2014, it was like big. It was a St. Patrick's event in downtown LA. It was like 250, 300 people.
Wow.
LA was premier chapter, right? And then when I joined it on a board, the director level, it went from that to 15 people. It was just hurting, right? And so as president-elect, I was there. And when it came time for me to take the helm, right, and become president for 2018, I went to work. And I understand it was a nonprofit organization, but my business mindset took over, and I treated it like a business. And that meant marketing. That meant the people, as far as accountability. That meant, making sure that we had the right people that were going to be on panels and on stage. That's going to enable us to put butts on those seats. If you repeat it and put that out on marketing and do a nice video of it and show the energy of that event and put it out over social media, you're going to repeat it again in the next one, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think not only the events, but the quality of the speakers that you bring in. I know that we talked a little bit about that. But before we get into how you changed it, what inspired you to jump into a leadership position in NAHREP on a national stage?
Right. The leadership part of it, I always start with helping people, right? And I just wanted to help people. I naturally love to help people. And with that comes obviously the tag leader, right? So for me, just being who I always been has, I would think, evolved me into now where I am now as national presidency. And the work ethic that you put in anything, and you combine that with helping people, that's going to get you somewhere naturally, right? And I think I didn't go into NAHREP presidency, I didn't go into national side because I wanted to be national president one day. I got the opportunity, and I got the hand extended to me saying, hey, we need you on a national level. We see what you're doing on a local level. We need you to do the same thing on a national level.
What are the challenges that you see are facing Hispanic, Latino buyers, sellers, families when it comes to real estate, developing generational wealth? What challenges do you see right now, or what are the most pressing challenges that you see that not only is NAHREP as an organization is working with and trying to help with, but you also as a leader? What do you see there?
The precipice of what NAHREP is all about is educating and enlightening our Latino community that you can go further than just renting. You can go out there and own your own home. You can go out there and own your own business that you operate from, which is commercial. But the idea is really to continue to push the word out there that it is possible for you. And we get a lot of, Latinos who, unfortunately, and I'm not going to say it's just Latinos, it's in different type of cultures too, different races, but we have sometimes that crab mentality, or we have the limited beliefs, or it's a cultural thing where we want to play it safe. And playing it safe is only going to get you to a certain moment, to a certain point.
I believe people like yourself that are natural born leaders and take on that leadership role have almost of a personality of encouraging and motivating those around them, not only by your actions and by what you say and by what you teach, but actually going out there and showing them the path, right? And the conversation that we were having earlier about generational wealth it really just takes one person to say, okay, this is the steps we're going to take, and then pass it on to the next, right?
Yeah.
And I do truly admire what you've done with the LA chapter and how you were able to bring it back from 15 people
15
attending
to-
15 people attending an event
to now 350 averaging in a year, and I left it close to $100,000 in 1 year.
Oh wow.
So that's when the national side saw that and were like, whoa, who's this kid from the West Coast?
Yeah.
We need to bring him on to the national side, and they started inviting him to the national events. Like, who's this guy? So sure enough, I got a call from Armando Tam, and he was like, hey, you need to come over to Seabug, you need to come to the national side, come to San Diego, come to New York, come to all these other places. And I never said no. I said, yeah, let's do it.
Along those lines, Edwin,
Yeah.
a couple years ago, I do remember when I was involved, there was a program to create wealth, and it was
Yes.
I forgot the name of it, but it was helping the Latino community
Yes.
and teaching them how to create
Right.
that generational wealth, or at least the beginnings of it, right? Is that happening now within NAHREP, or is this something that you're taking on personally?
Yeah, so when you first heard about it about 10 years ago plus around there, it was called Hispanic Wealth Project.
That's what
And
it
it
was,
is still
yes.
called the Hispanic Wealth Project, but it has evolved since then. Actually, this year we launched the Hispanic Wealth Project boot camp, where it's a 6-week program that is being taught by people that obviously know about wealth, are involved in the wealth world, but also teaches us about corporate strategies, taxes, wealth vehicles. I mean, where to put your money in, as far as how to build it. All those teachings that we need, that we personally from Latino community don't have compared to the Jewish community, right?
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think as a Latino community, I think that we tend to stay in our lane as far as we know what we know. Like if I'm a great artist, that's what I do. Or if I'm a great mechanic, that's what I do. If I'm great in sales and I'm a great agent, or even a broker owner, and we forget that it takes a lot more than that to actually build a business,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
You need tax strategy, right? Wealth management, investment knowledge. So there's a lot more than just being great at what you do.
Correct.
You really need to start looking at the big picture around you. And we were having that conversation earlier today when we're talking about building wealth for families and what you do and how we help our clients build wealth. I do it with commercial real estate. Your office does more residential. My office does residential as well. And I've seen it throughout the years where we've helped families get into their first home, and then they get a little rental, right? And then they get the second home. And all of a sudden they get the bug, right? And then they get into the multi-unit. They got 5 units, 10 units, 15 units. I'm at a point now where I'm looking at commercial buildings and helping the we were just having that conversation, an entrepreneur that we're helping right now, Latina, by the way, a Hispanic, Latina, Mexican lady, built an amazing business, sold it for millions and millions of dollars, is retiring now, and she's selling a $15 million industrial building. I love to hear those stories because they went through those growth spurts of single family residence, right? Multi-unit, commercial, build a business, tax strategy. And it goes right along the line with the wealth project that you were talking about. With your travels nationwide, and I know the economy, it's kind of like in this healing process right now, where it's maybe not great, but in some sectors it might be healing. What are the biggest challenges that you see facing Hispanic home buyers right now? Somebody coming into, your kids, my kids are of age now where they're getting their first homes, they're getting started, and I see them with certain challenges. What challenges do you see out there right now for the Hispanic home buyer?
Well, first of all, the common challenge across the country is inventory, right? We don't have inventory, the prices are going to continue to go up. They should have gone down the last year or so when the rates went up in 24, but they did not go down because of the fact that we still had lack of inventory. I think once we kind of fix that on the federal level and start to reduce red tape, then we're going to figure out that at that moment in time, we're going to start seeing more units and prices start to kind of soften. Now, at that point, gives our Hispanic community more access to inventory that matches the price points. Now, what Latinos do, and this is what I love about our community, is that we band together, and you start seeing on the purchase contract 3-4 borrowers, right? Instead of just your typical 1 or 2 borrowers, like you see a borrower and a co-borrower. In our purchase contracts, we see borrower, co-borrower, 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 right?
Exactly.
You know,
Yes,
they'll make
we
it
do.
happen. They will go through. They're gonna make it because the thing is that a lot of our Latinos, we're family oriented. Our values oriented. We don't send our parents to a nursery, a nursing
To a
home.
home, no, we
No, we
don't.
don't. They
No.
live with us until they pass away. And so when you see that, when you know that, in a household, you see multi-generational households there.
Yes.
You see the grandparents, you see the parents, you see the kids, and now the grandkids. I at some point had 4 generations in my household.
No, really?
Right, but then the youngest ones moved out, but we were all living in one household, and
No, I
so
believe it.
when you see that,
I grew up in a household like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2, 3 families in the household trying to make it happen, and
Right.
they bought their first home. Our family bought their first home in '79, I think, something like
Yeah.
that. That was the first taste of home ownership and actually planting our stakes somewhere, right?
Yes,
So
yes. So I mean, Latinos, I think to answer your question is 1, inventory. 2 is to expand our credit box in regards to our lending products. So we need to have more I-10 products out there that's going to allow people that have I-10 only, example, to come into to home ownership by lowering the entry level. In other words, lower down payment on the I-10 products. Like right now we've seen 20% down, 15%
I've
down
seen that.
for I-10.
Yes.
But did you know that the I-10 loan has the lowest default rate among all the other loan products out there?
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the
wow.
thing is that as an investor for an I-10 product, I would say if that's the lowest default rate, I'm going to put more money in there because it's lower risk. So there should be more money invested into the I-10 product. They should lower the down payment barrier to allow more I-10 loans to be purchased, because the Latinos do not foreclose. They get together. You got remember what I mentioned? It's the sons, the cousins, the tia. They're all working to get this mortgage paid off each month. And so I think one of the things that we need to understand is put that out there more.
I think one of the biggest strengths within the Hispanic community that is really overlooked is the strength of the family values that are
Yes.
involved, and I believe that family value that is instilled in the generations as they grow have led us to the point where you're sitting here as national president. Real estate has been an amazing tool and vehicle for our family to create wealth. And I'm on my 3rd generation. I just became a grandfather.
Yeah, congratulations.
My daughter finally made me a grandfather, and now I'm looking at it's a new perspective for me. It was always, how do I build wealth? How do I build wealth? How do I build wealth? How do I build something for my kids, right?
Yeah.
But now it's more the conversations that we're having around the dinner table, and even the conversations that you and I were having right before the podcast was, how do we pass it on to the next generation? That's why I love organizations like NAHREP and the Wealth Project that they're doing. I enjoy watching individuals like yourself take on that leadership role and leading the way and teaching the rest of us and the agents in our industry, not only how to create wealth for themselves, but for their clients, and get them into their clients into sustainable housing where they can start building their wealth.
The loan products that are here now, they're antiquated, right? Because the next generation, they're on social media right now with the advent of AI. Now there's so many businesses that are being created, and so those businesses make a lot of income. But then the banks don't recognize that income in a way where they see, okay, we'll give you a loan because of this. No, there's a lot of successful gigs out there that are making money. They're just making money, but they're not being allowed to buy a home because the criteria is still built for the 80s and 90s. And
I agree with you. I think the market hasn't caught up with what the new generation and today's time what's happening, because we saw that with different loan products in the past. I've been in lending since 91, right? 91, 92. And when I first started, there was no such thing as bank statement only, profit and loss only.
Right.
But the banks in the marketplace recognize that there's an area for that. There's a need for that, right?
There's demand for it.
There's demand for the individual that has a successful company, might not be a W-2, but they have the bank statements, they have the profit and loss, they have the reserves, and then those created that actually led them to create those loan products. I think, going back to what you're saying, the gig economy, we're in that position right now where those products haven't hit the market yet.
Correct.
They haven't recognized that market opportunity yet. I think that will come eventually.
Yeah.
Hopefully helping the next generation to actually start buying homes and getting into their first single family residence using those products. I think that the generation doing all the social media and they do generate that kind of income are moving a lot faster than the banks are at this point.
Yeah.
I think we need to get more into development and cut the red tape in development and meet the need. That's one of the reasons why I kind of jumped in a commercial. I'm like, how can I jump in to something where we can start developing and start developing bigger opportunities, and I'm going to do an ADU.
Right,
I'd rather build
right.
a 10-story apartment building, luxury apartment building, or condo building that we can sell. With that said, Edwin, what are the biggest changes that you see for our real estate industry in the next coming year?
As far as the industry is concerned, I think what's needed is we need to get back to the fundamentals. First of all, we need to really understand the business side of things of real estate. With the advent of social media, we tend to focus on too much marketing. There's a difference between prospecting and marketing, and I think we need to figure out those two things. A real estate agent that thinks they're prospecting but only marketing, they're not going to do good in this business. And what I mean by that is that someone that posts a reel on their social media to think that they're going to get business, and they just count their likes as success, it's not going to go nowhere. The prospecting part of it, is what I teach my agents, and we figured out the code. It's not going to be people dancing on social media. It's going to be actually figuring out how to educate the viewer on a question that they already had, and you answered it for them before they even asked you. And once you answer that question without even them like asking you, they're gonna see you as our market expert. Like, wow, he or she answered that question. I didn't even know. Like, let me press a follow because I'm sure there's more things that this person's going to give me. And at that point, I'm gonna DM them. Now that's one part of it. But the other part is like, instead of just counting your likes and saying, oh, I got 300 likes, 200 likes, start DMing each person saying, hey, thank you for the support. I appreciate the like. By the way, do you know of anyone that's looking to buy or sell real estate? And they say no, say, well, how about yourself? Have you ever thought about buying or selling? And of course, they're gonna say, no, I don't. Well, what's stopping you, right? The simple Mike Ferry script that we learned back then
when we first started.
Yeah, is now going back to 2026. Instead of doing it over the phone and picking up the landline, you're doing it over social media. So the thing is that the fundamentals are the same, just the scenery is different. And I think we need to figure out how to understand that. The industry needs to do that. Now, what happened? Why did we go into this whole thing? COVID happened. If you remember correctly, COVID, all we had is social media back then. We couldn't door knock no more. We couldn't do open houses anymore.
Yeah.
So during that time, a lot of people left their jobs because they got sent home because of COVID, and they had another choice, which was, let me get my license. This is my opportunity to get paid by the government, sustain my income, and get into real estate while COVID's happening. But when they jumped into real estate, right, while COVID's happening, the only thing they were able to do is social media. So they lost the fundamental teachings before COVID, what we were doing in COVID.
I agree 1,000%.
Right? And so we need to go back to it. So I've been a proponent of that person. I've been a stunt proponent. People know who I am. They know, they follow me. They say, I'm not big onto that stuff. I'm big about business, about, actually knowing your systems and understanding that we need to follow up on your leads. You need to follow up on your database. You need to follow up on all those things that's gonna make our business grow. And a lot of agents don't understand that. So you asked me that question, what does the real estate professional need? They need to go back to the fundamentals and understand that there is a way to be successful. And the way to be successful, you gotta stick to the systems of a business, right? And so once we do that, we'll figure that out. And once we do get that going, then you start seeing the success. Then you can go back into the marketing and like, hey, let me do that. But you can do both. You can do marketing and prospecting, two different things, right?
I think what happened in our industry is the whole influencer.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I'm not afraid to talk about the influencer stuff.
Influencer era came in, and they forgot that they were a real estate professional helping a consumer, right?
Yeah,
They forgot that the center of their business is to help the consumer, help the young buyer, and they became influencers. I believe that exactly what you just said, that they need to get back to the basics. And that's one thing I love about the commercial side. When now that I'm fully in commercial, it's all number driven. It doesn't make sense for my business. So I think that our industry on the residential side forgot they were there to serve the public, forgot that they were there to help the first time home buyer, and got wrapped up in the influencer cycle.
Right.
But I see a shift.
Yeah,
I see
there's
a
a
lot
shift
of them coming
happening.
back.
There's shifting happening.
And
I'm glad
they're
it's-
doing the education, which is great to
I'm
see.
seeing it. I'm glad that there's now, of course, it needed to happen, and I'm glad you're seeing a lot of agents start to shift and start to really now take the importance of what a real estate business looks like, and understand, okay, in order for me to survive in this business, I need to really stick to the business fundamentals, because there's a high, 90% of agents are out of the business in the first 5 years.
Oh yeah, so I see it. Like I said, I've been in the business
like clockwork.
over 30 years, and I see it every
Right.
time.
I tell my agents when I have my sales meetings, I go, 90% of you guys won't be here in the next 5 years. It breaks my heart to say it, and it happens. It's like I shake my head, look, there's no way these people that I'm seeing in front of that's sitting in my sales meeting will be gone. And sure enough, they're gone, and the 10% remain, right? And so, and I was like, it's sad to see, but it's really a reality. Now, part of it not because they didn't learn the fundamentals, because the work ethic wasn't there, and what have you. Now, going back to the market, right? We're shifting from a seller's market to a buyer's market. Now, it's been 14 years since we last seen a buyer's market. In other words, if you're licensed 14 years or you've only been licensed 14 years or less, you've never seen a buyer's market. So guess what? You're back to being a new agent again, because now you need to relearn the market that was back then. When I started in the buyer's market. I started in the crash, right? Where 3% commission was normal. When 3% plus $10,000 bonus if you get this into escrow.
I would tell agents that would come in for a 2% commission, I go, you're working for minimum wage.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it used to be 3% plus bonuses.
Yes, like if you get into escrow by May 30th, you get $10,000 bonus, right?
I remember
and
those days,
the sale type was only short sales and REOs, right? That's all we'd see. Those standard sales are barely around, only the flips. And so now it's a different market where the buyers are having more leverage. So the agent now needs to educate themselves on what a buyer market entails and how you can navigate through that, and how you can negotiate through that market, because your clients depending on you to acquire those skills so they can now go into a home with a $20,000 seller credit from the seller, obviously, to the buyer. Not only that, you get a lower price point, you can negotiate more repairs, you can negotiate a lot more things, because the buyer now has the leverage. Of course, there's certain counties that still has spotty sellers or mid-market, but you can see certain places where the bar is a pronounced buyer market.
That's what I call a healing market, where the sellers actually realize the reality of where the market's at. The buyer is starting to realize it as well. And you'll see more negotiation going back and forth, more concessions to actually make the deal happen.
Right.
So that's what I call a healing market, and I think that's where we're at now. But as we end today, my friend, what's one final piece of advice that you can give the real estate professional that's seeing this, or the first-time home buyer, Hispanic, Latino home buyer? What is the one piece of advice that you can give that individual? Well, let's start with the realtor that can help them this day going forward.
Start working on your CRM. Start working on your database. Every business out there that exists has a customer list, right? When you go to Macy's, and I shop at Macy's, the next day I get an email from Macy's with a coupon. What do they want? They want me to come back.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't even make it to the parking lot. They're already texting you, right?
Now, if I mention a product right now, my phone's gonna start advertising me that product as I scroll through Instagram. They have a customer list. So us as a real estate agent should have a customer list or a CRM or database, because that system, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, is going to sustain your business. It's gonna give you all the business that you're gonna need. Now, as far as Latino buyer, I think they need to start to, one, mindset needs to go from survival mode to thrive mode, right? They need to start thriving.
I agree.
They need to start start attending home buying seminars. They need to start reaching out to their local buyer agent or real estate agent. They need to start to really look at financial literacy as one of the things they need to start getting into. In other words, what does owning a home mean to me versus being a renter for the next 20 years, right? To knowing that net worth is the primary driver of wealth is owning home.
I love what you just said about the financial literacy part. I think it's not only needed. I think it's something that we as real estate professionals should be advocating for, and that's why I'm glad that I was able to have the national president of NAHREP here today to share his wisdom and his experience. I hope that you guys got a lot out of this episode. I can't wait to see you on the next one. Edwin, I want to thank you for everything that you did today, sharing everything that you did, my friend.
Yeah.
Good seeing you. It's been a while since you were last in my office. I think you mentioned the last time it was here, we remodeled.
Yeah,
so,
remodeled. Yeah,
so it's been some time, but
For
you're
sure.
always welcome back. I know that me and
Thank you
you
for having me.
are going to enjoy a cigar, guys, and we'll see you guys for the next one.